Resident Evil 6 is a game that is absolutely packed to the brim with story, having 4 different campaigns with tons of new and returning characters, each with their own detailed backstories and reasons that they get involved in the events of the game. So if you were to get lost in the shuffle of what's going on, I don't think that anyone could blame you. And one of the things that I never really understood, or rather that I misunderstood about the events of the game, was how the C virus could turn people into Javo as well as zombies, and what exactly determined which a person would become. So let me start by outlining the differences between the two in broad strokes. A Javo is essentially just a soldier that has been enhanced by the C virus, a virus that gives this individual the ability to heal its wounds quickly, replace those wounds with new appendages if they get damaged, and even transform into a new creature if the virus manages to progress that far into its infection. A zombie, on the other hand, is exactly what you've come to know from the series. A mindless, wandering corpse that hungers for human flesh and will stop at nothing to get it. From the outset, both of these creatures carry on the legacy of the previous games in the series. Zombies obviously falling more in line with the earlier games like Resident Evil 2 or 3, while Javo have more in common with enemies such as the Ganados of Resident Evil 4 or the Magini of Resident Evil 5. However, despite these creatures being quite different, they both come from the same virus, which was a bit confusing for me personally, but has been cleared up more with the more time that I've spent in the game. In this game, Javo are created when a person is injected with the C virus, such as the mercenaries of the Adonian Liberation Army or the soldiers of Neo Umbrella. Zombies, on the other hand, are created when the virus is inhaled or presumably contracted through a bite. This seemingly being the determining factor of which creature you'll turn into, assuming you've been infected by the C virus.
Are you okay?
I don't know that it's ever explicitly stated, but this appears to be the line of logic behind the virus. People who have been injected will become Javo, and that's why they are typically carrying things like guns or are skilled in hand-to-hand combat, because usually it was soldiers or mercenaries who had been purposefully injected. It does seem a bit odd that there are so many Javo to deal with when injection is the only way that they can be created, but it seems that Carla was very prepared for her revenge on Simmons. As for zombies, they are generally just civilians who are in the wrong place at the wrong time, usually being able to be traced back to bioterror attacks from the Lipotitsa BOW, which seems to be the main way, if not the only way, that the airborne virus is spread, with the missile that's fired into the city from the aircraft carrier perhaps being filled with the toxin that the creature secretes. And while zombies and Javo are quite different, they do share some similarities through the C virus, the main one being transformation. While the Javo are certainly more prone to transforming after their chrysalid stage, transforming isn't exclusive to them. Variants in zombies are created through mutations in the C virus, such as the Shrieker or even the Whopper. However, the best example would have to be the Bloodshot, because it's the only one that we can see transform before our very eyes. Anyways, I hope that clears up the question of differences between the two most common enemy types in this game. I don't believe that the game does a very good job of explaining it, or at least I didn't pick up on it on my first few playthroughs, so I thought it would be interesting to discuss and explain how and why this very complicated virus seems to work the way that it does.